Welcome to Excel. Today's lesson is about how easy Excel is to learn if you've never opened up Excel, if you've never used it. So when you first open up Excel, you're going to open up to a blank workbook. That is the first thing that you're going to see. Below that, you're going to see that there are some videos that Microsoft has included for you to view if you'd like. And then below that, there are some templates that Microsoft has so that if you want to, for example, open up, this one's called the personal monthly budget. All you would do would be double left click on it and it would open up to a personal budget. If you don't see what you like, you can also type in, for example, budget in this search box and press enter on your keyboard. And there are a whole host of budgets that are already done for you that you can utilize. So that's really nice what Microsoft has included with these templates. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on a blank new workbook. And when you click on a blank new workbook, you're going to come up to the upper title bar here that says Book 1. So by default, Microsoft calls this new workbook Book 1 unless you change the name. On the upper left-hand corner, you have the word Home that is highlighted in a tab. And underneath it is a ribbon, and this ribbon changes every time you select a tab to the right of the Home. So for example, I have now Page Layout selected. And underneath that ribbon tab are different things that I can do to change, for example, my margins, or if I want to change the look of my sheet when it prints. I'm going to left click my mouse on Home, and right now you can see that there's a box surrounding this cell that's automatically selected by default. And that one is called A1. Why is it called A1? Because this is column A and this is row 1. So the name box up in the upper left-hand corner tells you where you are, A1. So if I was to left-click my mouse right over here, for example, it tells me that I am in column C, row 3. Column C, row 2. Column B, row 1. Okay, so that's how easy it is to understand where you are, and it's important to keep track of where you are. The bottom right hand corner has what's called your zoom, so you can zoom in and you can zoom out by selecting the little slider and dragging your mouse to the right or to the left, or clicking on that little plus, left clicking on that plus once or twice, and it zooms in. When I left click on the minus, it zooms out. So that's extremely helpful when you're utilizing Excel. Bottom left-hand corner, sheet 1 is the first sheet that Microsoft names your workbook. You can add sheets, you can delete sheets, you can rename sheets. So right now, instead of it being named sheet 1, I'm going to double left click my mouse on sheet 1 and it highlights itself in gray, and I'm going to type in, for example, January. So if I wanted to enter in my January expenses, that's how I would begin, typing in the word January and pressing enter on my keyboard. If I'd like to add February to the right of it, I'm going to click on this little plus and now double left click right on top of that sheet 2 and name it February and press enter on my keyboard. So you can see how easy that is to create a new worksheet. So right now I'm in the February worksheet until I select January, and now that's my January sheet. When I want to start typing, I'm going to left click my mouse in cell A1 and I'm going to type, for example, Excel and press enter on my keyboard. When I press enter on my keyboard, it goes down to the cell below it. If I was to press tab on my keyboard, it goes to the right. If I was to press enter on my keyboard, it goes down to the cell below it. So that's another way to get yourself maneuvering around your worksheet. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to left click your mouse in cell A1 and notice that the word Excel also shows up in the formula bar. So you can left click your mouse in the formula bar and I can backspace my items out or my letters out, and I can add them back in up there as well. So there's two ways of doing that. I can left click my mouse in cell A1 and type right over it, and now I've changed it from Excel to Donna. All right, that's how easy it is to add things and delete things and to add text in your worksheet. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to left click our mouse in cell A1 and add first name, press tab, last name, address, state, and zip code. Now you notice that I left out city across the top. So how do I add a column for the word city? I'm going to left click my mouse right on the letter D, and your mouse turns into a black arrow that points downward. And in my home tab, all the way over to the right in the cell section is the word insert. And if I left click my mouse on the word insert, it automatically adds a column to my sheet. So now I can left click my mouse in D1 and add city. Very simple. So let's put in a name. Let's just do Bob, okay? And let's add Bob Smith, for example. If I wanted to add a row above Bob, I'm going to come back up to the cell section, left click my mouse on insert, and it adds another row above. That is exactly how easy it is to do. All right. So the next step is if you'd like to delete that row that you just created, you are going to left click your mouse right on the number 2 to the left of the cell, come up to the cell section in your home tab, and to the right of that insert where you just were inserting another row, you're going to select the icon called delete. And when you select delete, it deletes the row. You can also delete the column. So if I left click my mouse, for example, on the D column that I just created and do the very same thing, it deletes the column. If I come up to the upper left-hand corner above the tab called Home, there's an arrow that points to the left, and that is called Undo. And if I left click right on that arrow, it undoes my last step. So it would bring back that column that I just accidentally deleted. Let's come down to the bottom left-hand corner where it says January. Let's double left click our mouse, and now let's type in address list. And press enter on our keyboard. So now we're starting to create an address list. If we want to, for example, change the font in cell A1, we're going to left click our mouse in cell A1. We're going to come up to the font category. And right now you can see by default, I have the font called Arial. If I come to the right of it and click this down arrow, you have a list of fonts, and I'm using my scroll on my mouse to look at the font styles. So for example, if I wanted to script, you can see that it changes now to whatever I selected. To the right of it is a number. That number corresponds with the size of the font. So for example, if I want a larger font, I would just select that larger font. Now you can see that the A column is not large enough to fit the word first name. It kind of spills over to here, okay? So what do? In order to make cell A1 larger, I'm going to bring my mouse between the A and the B column, and my mouse turns into an arrow that points east and west. And if I'm right on that line, if I hold my left mouse button down and I drag it to the right, it is going to make that column bigger. The other way to do that is to double left click my mouse, and it will automatically adjust to the right column size. If I wanted to change the color of my font, in the font category, there is a letter A with an arrow pointing down, and I can change the color of my font. So let's just say I selected red there. If I wanted to make it bold, right underneath the font is a letter B, and if I left click, it makes it a little bit larger, and it makes it more bold. This guy is the italics. This guy is the underline. So those are some ways that you can change your font type and style. So let's come over to last name, and if I want to change that to bold, you can see it goes a little bit bolder. If I wanted to make it italics, there's my italics. And if I wanted to do an underline, I can do the underline. If I didn't want it to be underlined, I would just left click right back on the U up there, and it gets rid of that underline. If I didn't want the italics, I would just select it and it goes away. That is how easy it is to change the font. If you wanted to change the background cell color, right to the left of that A is a little paint bucket with a color. And if you click the down arrow to the right of that paint bucket, you can see that if I just hover my mouse over some of the colors, it will allow me to do a fill color on that cell. That is how easy it is to do. Okay? If I did not want that color in that background, I would click the down arrow and I would choose no fill, and it goes away. That is how easy it is to change the font in Excel. So you can see that Excel is extremely easy to learn. Thank you for your time. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Let's go on to the next lesson.